Hello everyone. Thanks a lot for the support. That means a lot to us. Please like, comment, or subscribe to our channel as that helps a lot. Our next guest is a Palestinian-British filmmaker and human rights advocate. Previously, stockbroker at JP Morgan. Now, Bafta winner and Oscar nominee for her most recent short, The Present. She's a director, screenwriter, and producer. Through her lens, she tries to capture the Palestinian struggle and embarks us with her in this portrait on the absurdity of life and the occupation. Can something as simple as buying a gift for your spouse get you detained or killed? Our guest manages to tell an emotionally charged story with finesse and skill in less than 30 minutes. We hope you will enjoy our conversation. Thanks a lot for watching. See you soon. Hello, Farah. I'm very happy to have you here. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm great. For the record, Halim has stuffed me with a huge, amazing meal, and I'm entering a food coma.
I'm really sorry for that.
No, but it's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, my first question would be the present, the title in English, is a play on words. The present as the time and as the gift. Did you choose an English title on purpose because Al Hadiya in Arabic doesn't have double meaning as in English?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I chose an English title, but I chose that title knowing that it would translate as Hadiya in Arabic, but of course for the double meaning that it has in English. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
could have called it The Gift and El Hadiya, but it was, yes, a very conscious choice to go with the present instead because of that double meaning, for sure.
The ending of the present is more hopeful than what we would expect. Did you have a different ending in mind?
Honestly, when you start your sort of story process, you have a simple premise. You don't have all the details, and I had various potential endings. Without any sort of spoilers, let's just say that the final ending that we decided upon, interestingly enough, was inspired by the father of the girl, Maryam Kench, who plays Yasmin in the film. And anyway, without ruining it, he sort of set a light bulb off in my head, and I loved it. And I went off and I thought about the different variations of that kind of ending. And the one you see in the film is what I settled on. And the reason, in many ways, being is that I did want to offer something as an alternative, something more hopeful, and something that maybe suggests that it is the youth that are coming out stronger and wiser and even more defiant, you know? So, yeah.
Do you think the hope is in the next generation, meaning we don't have any hope now?
Well, I think that generation already is present. So when I say the next
Yeah.
generation, I mean the sort of younger generation. I don't mean a generation that doesn't exist that's coming. They very much are there and present. And I think just recently, what's been going on the ground in Palestine has reflected that it's the younger generation that have been more vocal, more organized, more, like I said, defiant and less complacent and not willing to accept this boot on their neck for much longer, let's say.
Yeah.
So I do believe that, and that makes sense. I mean, most sort of social movements in the world throughout history really are led by the sort of younger generation. If you look back, and even those individuals like the Malcolm X's, or I say the Malcolm X's like there's hundreds of them, like Malcolm X, like Martin Luther King, you know, they were much younger than people think, you know, they
Yeah,
were.
yeah.
And I mean, they were both assassinated before they were even 40, so
Yeah.
in their 30s. And they were active in their 20s in very big, profound ways. So it really comes down to, you have to believe that something is wrong, but you also have to have the hope that youth do have that you can make a change, which unfortunately older generations don't have. Older generations recognize something is wrong. They would like to rectify it, but they don't have the hope. And you need the combination of the two to actually achieve change. And that's,
Yeah, that's what I liked. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
to
no,
interrupt
go
you. That's what I liked about the present. It's you can feel that between. I don't want to spoil it.
But it's look. It is sad to tell you, and you know this, I'm sure. But the more realistic outcome in a situation like is presented in the present at Israeli checkpoints is usually lethal force, death, arrest, injury, and that of course did cross my mind as a potential kind of ending as well. But
Yeah, it will be different. That's for sure.
It would be different because what this film does at the end is lend that hope, and I want to be part of that, if you like. And it is a fiction film. It is based completely on reality, but the ending, not so much. But I think that's okay. It's it seems to have resonated with people.
Looks like not. I mean, we need a little bit of fairy tale at some point.
Yeah, but I think also it lends to ignite. If when you provide that hope, then the people fighting the good fight, if you like, are fueled.
Yep.
But if you present them with only the sort of death and disaster that sadly in many cases is the reality, then unfortunately that doesn't fuel and encourage and excite those who want to participate in bringing change. So it's a fine line,
Yeah, of course. When was the first time you visited Palestine?
The first time I was very young. I visited Palestine many times when I was a child. So back and forth from London, and then around the first Intifada, so around 87, 88. After that, we didn't go back for over 25 years.
Oh wow, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then I visited.
Was you old enough to
understand what was happening?
Yeah.
Yes, certainly. I mean, we have memories, and at that time, the Israeli military were very present within sometimes the cities, like in Nablus, and and of course, when you cross the bridge, and then it was the military there, actually, the Israeli military. Nowadays, things are a bit changed and different, but we do recall, a lot of things. That said, my memories are also nice and pleasant, and whether it was visiting family and the fresh lemonade they would make, and donkey rides and horse cart rides, and I remember those things as well. But then sort of 25 years later, I went back around, I guess it's 7-8 years ago, and I'm now seeing and witnessing Palestine through an adult lens, and really the injustice there is so overwhelming. It's colossal, really. And so very different experiences 25 years later, yeah.
As your character says in your short movie, Oceans of Injustice, do you really need to visit Palestine to feel and fully understand their immense pain? How and to what extent can we understand it otherwise?
I think in an ideal way and world, yes. If you can go, you should, you must, because obviously witnessing, experiencing, feeling, understanding, on the ground with your own two eyes, there's no substitute for that, ultimately. And in my case, as that film, Oceans of Injustice, it takes you through that journey, is I really thought I did understand what was happening on the ground. But really, you can read as many books as you like, and you can watch all sorts of videos and YouTube videos and read the reports and the facts and the figures and all of it. But really, it was, when I was on the ground there, it hit me like a ton of bricks. The extent, the how systematic, how institutionalized the oppression is, how widespread, how colossal, that's the word I use. It really is colossal. And that's where this sort of title of Oceans of Injustice, it really is overwhelming. Now, I recognize that not everyone can go and visit. And I also recognize not everyone, is going to go and visit, right? And it can't be that that's it. That's the limit of how, people will understand Palestine. But I think in many ways, maybe that's why I felt so inspired and motivated to become a filmmaker, is because I was like, okay, then in that case, let me bring Palestine to them, to people around the world, not with the reports and the facts and the figures and the maps and the truths and the proofs in the more traditional sense, but through art, through the power of cinema, and transition Palestine to them in a way where they can hopefully understand the reality on the ground a bit more.
I don't know how we could live with that injustice for so many years, but in the same time, we have to push. We don't have any other choice. So, in other words, for people like me, how could we able to help in any way or shape?
Well, I mean, you know, everyone has their role, right? Their part to play, and it can be very small. It could be mediocre, and it could be extreme. I mean, in my case, for example, I really changed the trajectory of my entire life because I felt compelled to, right? I don't expect everyone to do that or pursue, you know, justice for Palestine, freedom for Palestinians as their only issue or goal. But the important thing is to be active, is to get involved, is not to disconnect from it or become indifferent. And I don't say that just as Palestinians, or Arabs, or I mean, it's just human beings. And ultimately, I always say, you know, if not Palestine, find something else for God's sake. But when it comes to Palestine, ultimately, you're right. It's been going on for decades. And we're in the 21st century here. And we're talking about not only military occupation, we are talking about apartheid, which, again, Palestinians have been saying for a long time. And recently, even, you know, Human Rights Watch, their report sort of confirming this is apartheid. And so as human beings around the world, well, we didn't stand for that decades ago in South Africa. You mean to say now in the 21st century, we're going to accept this? This is okay? It's not okay. And so everyone needs to kind of get involved and do their part. Now,
it's going for longer. I mean, way too long. It's more than
yes,
70 years.
Yes, of course. But, you know, this is where I think ultimately I believe that that tides are changing. I believe that in many ways the power of technology and this communications revolution that's pretty much in the palm of every Western citizen, you know, where we can literally look at our phones and our iPads and receive news, transatlantic news, social media, videos from Gaza, videos from the West Bank and Sheikh Jarrah and how homes being demolished and so forth. And I think that people's eyes are opening up. Now, what has taken place in the last, let's say, 5 years is maybe what was required in the last 50 years. Who knows, right? So the important thing is to get on the train, get involved, get behind the momentum. And the ways you can do that are numerous. You know, whether it's, I mean, even this podcast, us discussing, you know, whether it's being vocal, talk about it. You're at a dinner party. Why shy away? Why are we always not talking about these issues? Or, you know, whether it's volunteering, whether it's lending yourself from a charitable point of view, even if it's small amounts. We have to believe in the power of incrementalism, which is, you know, 1 + 1 + 1. It adds up. We can't all sit there and think, oh, well, what's the point if my $10 doesn't make a difference? No, it does make a difference. Believe it, do it, get involved. Join solidarity campaigns, sign those protests, you know, and join the protests and sign the petitions and use your talents. So whether it's creativity in terms of art, become a filmmaker, you know, why not?
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, of course.
there is a lot. Now, of course, I'm talking about, you know, on the individual level. Of course, if you're someone who wants to go off and run for Congress, great, do that. But if not, at least write your letter to your, you know, representatives and things like that. So you can go small, you can go big, but do something, get involved. And make it something that is persistent. And I believe, honestly, that it's the amalgamation that actually will bring change. Yes, we talk about our Gandhis and who's our, you know, yes, there are people at the forefront, but it's there's power in numbers, power in people, and that's what we need to do.
Do you think the Palestinian diaspora is doing their job? Is doing its job?
I think there's more. So I feel like I don't think we've done a great job, to be honest. And I still don't think we're doing a great job. I think we're doing better than before. And again, I think we can sort of thank technology in some ways for that, because now I can hear about a success story all the way across in America of, people protesting and actually getting something approved or rejected or whatever it is. I can recognize that my action here has impacted something on the ground in Palestine because of the ease with which we can get that information, right? So I think that we are becoming more inspired and motivated. Even things like the arts and film and all of that means, again, now we've got, so for example, the present. The fact that this film maybe 10 years ago might not have been seen all around the world. But when it was a big inspiration and motivation for so many, Palestinian, non-Palestinian, and it was a tool as well where people said, okay, this is a film we can share with friends who don't quite understand what's going on. And I've received emails from random people from Americans, not Arab in any shape, form, or fashion. Even they had seen sort of an article in one of the newspapers and sort of said, that's why I watched your film. And after I watched your film, I was shocked and appalled. And I therefore did research. And from there, I shared it with my family. And so ultimately, I think it's improving, but there is more. And I think it has to be a collective effort. And I think technology will allow us to have that more collective, organized effort, because now you can communicate in ways you never could have communicated, to organize and break through untrue narratives. You can bypass the traditional gatekeepers of the Zionist narrative, of the untrue narratives in ways never done before. By doing that, Palestinians as well in diaspora, in exile, are becoming even more aware and enlightened about the reality on the ground that, by the way, many do not know the extent of which, because they are not allowed to travel there, for example, or because of the lack of media that was previously, available to them or reaching them. I think that there's an awakening of kind, if you like, and I hope to see more of it. But I think there is the potential for a lot more.
How familiar were you with the process of filmmaking before you start your career as a producer?
Well, that's the interesting part. Honestly, I have loved films since, very, very, very young. So
do you remember the first film you watched?
I can't tell you the first film I watched because I can't remember what it was, but I know I enjoyed films like The Goonies and,
Oh, yeah.
you know what I mean? But I mean, just, I've always loved film. I've always loved theater as well. So from a very young age. And I also participated in a lot of theater at school and things like that. So I love film, right? And I love theater. But I have never worked in the industry prior to sort of deciding and choosing to jump in the deep end and produce my first few films. And I have no formal education in filmmaking whatsoever either.
Sorry to interrupt you. What do you think made you change your career like this from one day to another?
Well, for sure, the short version is that I went home. I mean, to my blood country. I went to Palestine only a few years back, and then that really hit me in a way where, as cheesy as it sounds, I decided I needed to change the trajectory of my life. It didn't happen instantaneously. It took me 2 years to figure that out, and feeling in that 2-year period very frustrated and depressed and angry and sad and all of it. But it was what I saw on the ground and thought, no, I've got to get involved beyond charity and beyond just sympathy. It needs to go deeper than that. And really film made sense to me. So when I say sort of, for me, I spent those 2 years saying, well, hold on, why is it this has gone on for so long and on such a scale? Even though Palestinians have truth and right on their side. I mean, this is, clear. And of course, there's many, many reasons, but I recognize that this idea of colonialism and all colonists in history, basically, ensuring that, the way they carry out what they carry out is to ensure that the indigenous people that they are colonizing are dehumanized, branded as barbarians, and then their very existence is denied. And they do this so that people of goodwill will not feel with that population, right? Internal, external consumption for people to go, ooh, I don't feel with this population. Then you can carry out whatever the hell you want to against that population with no recourse. No one's going to bother stopping you. And that became very clear to me. And settler colonialism is no exception to this. Palestinians have been severely dehumanized, meticulously, methodically, deliberately. So it was a kind of moment of like, okay, I could go off and maybe start a charity. Maybe I could start an NGO of some kind. And I looked around and I thought, but a lot of that already exists. But what's kind of missing? Of course, we have films and cinema and books. But I really felt that it is on the engagement front, engaging people on this subject, on this issue, through the EQ, through the heart, rather than the IQ, if you like, you know? And really the most powerful means of speaking to people's hearts is through art. You know, it's beautiful, powerful.
When you see Guernica, I mean, you don't need to leave what Franco did to Spain. You just have to watch the painting, and that's it. And I mean, it's similar with movies. In my opinion.
It's great. It's like, well, in that case, you know, when you talk about like a picture speaks a million words, or you know,
exactly,
and the same with film, sort of whether it's a 30-minute film, 1 hour film, 2 hour film, the power of cinema is really profound. It really is. This is what I felt called to, of course. I mean, ultimately, I'm not going to lie. There was a part of me that wanted to really express myself creatively, while at the same time recognizing this was a beautiful means to give some kind of voice to the silenced, to the oppressed. And that was my calling. It just is what it is, because the way I started was I adapted some writings that I had done over the couple of years prior to choosing to become a filmmaker, which I had no idea I was going to be a filmmaker when I wrote them. I wrote them from my heart, and I wrote them based on my reality, my feelings, my experiences. And so, you know, it just made sense to me that really it's engaging people and expressing yourself through storytelling. And ultimately, stories are the currency of life. That's what resonates with people. So.
Is Oceans of Injustice one of them? Right.
Oceans of, yes, it's an adaptation of my first writing, actually. And the funny thing is, my first 3 short films, well, my first 2, so there's Today They Took My Son as well. I kind of made them at the same time, and they were both adaptations of my personal writings, my therapeutic personal writings.
But they're all on YouTube. It's just for people to watch.
They are on YouTube. They are on various platforms.
Because I saw them on, I think it was one of your channels.
Yeah, there's YouTube and Vimeo and on the website. And so there you can access them from farahnabulsi.com, but you can also access them from nativeliberty.org. Oceans of Injustice is on oceansofinjustice.com, which you know is a website where I've deconstructed occupation, and so I would encourage people to go and take a look at that website as well. And they're on various platforms as well, so film platforms. Whereas The Present had a different path, because that was a different.
The Present, I can say it. The Present is on Netflix. It's for anyone who want to watch it. I recommend everyone to watch it.
Oh, thank you.
Because it's I like the story. It's simple but complex on the same time. There's a lot of underlying meanings. It's so simple. But again, I don't want to spoil it to people who do not watch it. So please.
No, I mean, you can say a few things. But no, it's on Netflix, but it's so Netflix worldwide, but it's also available in certain places, Amazon Prime. It's Canal Plus, Telefonica. In Japan, it's being distributed by different. There's it's Vimeo on demand as well.
Nice.
So there's a lot going on, but Netflix is obviously the main one, and that's worldwide.
Yeah, good to know, because it's a very good short movie, but because it's in my opinion, it's harder to do a short length movie or short movie than a feature film, because in a feature film you have a little bit more space, you have a little bit. Much more space and much more time to talk about one idea. Rather than short movie, you have to be very short and at the same time going straight to the goal and being artistic. So it's you squeezing everything together. So yeah, well done.
Thank you. By the way, though, I do think like certain films need that length because you're examining a lot more. Or there's a lot, and there's a plot that's a lot more detailed, and there's something to be said for that. But with this, for sure, it was a short, and there was no need to make it any longer. And it is, like you said, simple, and yet it really does speak volumes about the absurd reality on the ground. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you.
It was a great experience.
Thank you.
With impactful work like yours, Anne-Marie Jesser, Ra'ad Andouni, Elias Suleiman, and so many more, do you think Palestinian cinema is finally starting to get the recognition it deserves?
I think, given the circumstances, I think Palestinian cinema has been doing pretty well.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
actually.
you know what I mean?
It's
Like,
amazing.
yeah, and of course, prior to the present, and hopefully moving forward past the present, I know there's a lot coming as well.
Yeah.
And I think it's exciting in that sense. It's sad to me because I do think there's a lot of talent on the ground in Palestine that unfortunately can't do the work as much or as regularly or as consistently as other people in a film industry could elsewhere.
With these conditions, with all this chaos, look at what's happening. Imagine if it was like
exactly. So that's the thing. That's the thing.
circumstances.
Exactly.
It's
So given the circumstances, amazing. But
Yeah.
now imagine if that wasn't the circumstance where we could go with our filmmaking.
Yeah.
So
I would love to see that.
yeah.
I hope I would.
Yeah.
I mean, I can live enough to see that at some one
Inshallah,
day.
we will.
Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No.
Okay.
So it was just to say, I'm excited about what could be as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And yeah.
Today, half of the Palestinian films are directed by women, said Masri in an interview to the Economic Times. Masri is a pioneer director known for Under the Rubble, and more recently 3,000 Nights. What can other countries learn from Palestine?
I think just exactly that is, it should be very possible for women, females, to blossom in the film industry. But honestly, I don't think it's that Palestine decided that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
just that we are, I think in the Arab world, by the way, I don't think it's just in Palestine. I think in the Arab world, there is probably an equal amount of female filmmakers as male, approximately, or certainly more than the ratio is in Europe and in the West, basically.
At least in the UK, the disparity is quite noticeable. I mean,
UK, US,
it's even worse.
and it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Because people assume that somehow it wouldn't be women. Now, of course, we know it's also been culturally. I think maybe when we talk about the arts in the Arab world, culturally, it was maybe more possible or expected for females to end up in the arts than men, right? And so I'm sure there is that influence in terms of what's taken place in the Arab world. It's not that more women are doing it, it's that maybe less men are. Do you see what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Whereas in the West, it's just a different dynamic. Because ultimately, these are all incredible independent women who are like, right, I want to be a filmmaker, and they're pursuing it. It's not that this has been government funded or influenced, or that we don't have any film funds. We don't have. Whereas, for example, somewhere in Sweden, no, the government film money has a mandate in recent years to say we must fund, more female films and so forth. We don't have any of that going on. We just have determined women who are,
exactly.
saying, right, I want to be a filmmaker.
Which is incredible, because it's not easy to decide by yourself, okay, I'm going to leave my career and start a filmmaking career from not maybe from one day to another, but 2 years is not much.
No. I mean, what it was, I was banking. I also ran a business for 10 years as well. And it wasn't easy, but it felt right.
Okay.
And so maybe, how do I say, once I knew what it was I wanted to do, it was terrifying, but I how do I say, I just knew
Mm-hmm.
that I was on the right path.
Okay.
In that sense. It felt right.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it didn't matter how terrifying it was. And it was a sink or swim moment. It was like, just do this. Just do it. You know, like Nike tick. Just do it. Yeah. So
Why did you choose cinema as means of communicating the Palestinian people's struggle?
I think it comes back to what we were saying a little earlier, this idea that I believe empathy, because we talk about this idea of dehumanization and labeling us as sort of barbarians and terrorists and so forth. I think it's really important that empathy is in the formula in terms of what can bring people to recognize another's humanity and take action for the oppressed, if you like. Because ultimately, if you feel sympathy for an oppressed person or people, that's fine, but that's not going to drive you to want to actually bring it to an end, to take meaningful action. Whereas empathy, it has been proven time and time again that empathy is what can change people's minds on a subject.
You affect them.
Or yes, and they will move away from maybe their original positions, or they feel compelled to take action in that sense. And really, the power of art, and most specifically, in my opinion, film, has that capability of drawing empathy. And it's not about being contrived about it. Any good storytelling or any good filmmaking, if you like, should speak to people's hearts, right? It should, naturally your stories and your characters should be humanizing and cause empathy, right? Whether it's and different types of emotions. I mean, that's what a good film is, right? The emotional journey.
Yes.
So it's recognizing that film, you can do that through film in the most incredible ways. There's no limit to the stories you can tell or the ways you can tell them. So it just seems so logical to me, given my love of film and what it was I felt was missing in terms of how people feel when it comes to the Palestinian cause. I think that's,
You are truly talented, in my opinion, because it's not that easy to transition from one career to another. And in my opinion, it did not take you long.
I think in many people's opinions, maybe,
I don't know,
considering the whole Oscar Bafta thing where everyone's like, whoa, okay, that happened pretty fast.
To be honest, it's not about that. You can feel the progression. I mean, you evolve so quickly from your first written, produced movie until the last one.
Yeah, but to be fair, when I started, like I said, I'm going blind. I've never done this before. And I'm using these writings as adaptations, okay?
So you had good writing skills before, because writing is everything for a movie.
Yeah, sure. But the first three shorts were very different to the present. They were more portrait, more tone poem, more experimental.
Yeah, especially Oceans of Injustice.
Each one is different to the other, but they're experimental. So really, you could say that was me getting to know myself, me just expressing myself artistically. And I was just using what I had, which were these pieces that were raw, that I had written from my heart. It wasn't necessarily the filmmaker that I was intending to be. I don't know. I didn't know at that point. All I know is that I had these pieces. I needed to express myself. Screw it. I'm going to go and do it. And I'm going to, right? Now I'm in the industry. I have this inspiration for this story. And I thought, okay, it's not an adaptation. It's not tone poem. It's not, it's traditional film, right? And so now this is the moment where I said, okay, am I going to direct my first film? And of course, I was terrified,
I can imagine.
But at the same time, with the encouragement of people and also recognizing, that to direct, really, you don't have to have gone to film school. If you can, great, do it. But you don't have to have. We were discussing, Stanley Kubrick. Best education in film is to make one.
Yes, exactly.
Which I couldn't agree more with, clearly. And me seeing in my mind's eye very clearly, very vividly, the whole world of the present as a film, right? And so I take this plunge, and this is the film I made. So was this the director I was 3-4 years ago? Maybe, I don't know, but we know that this is the first film.
Yeah, I'm sure it was there, but it has some time to show up.
Yeah, and just kind of understanding
Yeah,
this
of
world.
course.
And
Yeah.
it's my sister. She said to me, when I got into the film industry, she said, Farah, anyone who knew you as a teenager knows you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And she recognized this sort of creative side to me, I guess, or, which I hadn't necessarily used or extended as much as maybe I should have in the last, God knows, 20 years. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, even, we wish you could have started earlier.
Yeah, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe the kind of person I was, 15, 20 years ago isn't.
Actually, you needed that time to discover yourself differently.
Yeah.
Or maybe that trip back home.
Yeah,
Made
exactly.
Something, and then something cooked in your mind. Is okay. Yeah, let's do it now.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
As a French Tunisian, I've had a hard time finding where I belong. Do you ever experience an identity crisis as a British Palestinian? Have there been instances that alienated you that you'd like to share with us?
I gotta be honest. I don't have an identity crisis.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm so grateful. I don't think I do. I don't feel like I do. I've never felt like the imposter or the outsider or that I don't belong. And I feel lucky for that, of course. I'm grateful for that. Born and raised in London, in England, and lived a life where I assimilated in a way where, and I think that's wonderful about London as well. There's so many different people and backgrounds and cultures and all of it, and that's what makes London great, actually.
You can call yourself a Londoner even if if you're not born in London.
Yeah, sure. And in my case, I was. So it was like, I really was.
But imagine if you're. I was not born and raised. You can hear that. You don't need
no.
So. I was born and raised in France, but I feel like a Londoner, even if I feel I belong to this city, even if I would not like you was born and raised here.
But a French. Do you question anything about being French?
At some point in my life, I felt like I did not belong either here or there, and then I accepted myself. I said I could be both. Why I can't be both? Why I have to choose?
Exactly.
I don't have to choose between being French or Tunisian. I can be both. So I choose to be both.
Yeah, and you can also just be a human being as well, and you can also be, and this is the thing for me. So I never sat there thinking, who am I? Where am I from? No, it was very clear to me, and I think part of it was how I was raised as well. Is you are British, and you are Palestinian. Your blood running through your veins is Palestinian, but your life, your where you're born, where you've been raised is British, and it's both in that sense. But I recognize full well that I am 100% Arab. And I embrace that. Now, of course, when I'm in the Arab world and I'm not speaking great Arabic, and again, I'm grateful that I do speak Arabic. It's just not great. There are moments I'm like, ooh, am I the outsider? But again, I think many times it's what you decide. So when I take my space, let's say I'm in an Arab country, I'm in Palestine, and I claim my space. No, I'm just as Palestinian as you to a Palestinian. They embrace that, and we're done. Like I don't let anyone else decide for me where I'm from, and I don't need to be so clear on everything to know who I am, if you like. And that served me. It served me well because I and I understand that's not necessarily the case for everyone. I also understand.
It was not my case. And for instance, because, sorry to interrupt you, in my teenage years was a little bit difficult for me because if you go to Tunisia, you're not from here, you're French. If you were, actually, since I was born and grew up in Corsica, I had some issues when I was a kid, but it's nothing. When I moved to the continent, because we call this a continent because we are an island, I encounter issues there. So it was a little bit of a shock because in my opinion, because everyone is saying, Corsicans are racist, but they're not comparing to what I encountered when I was in the continent.
All right.
So, but again, as you well said, you know how to work with yourself and fix your own issues. You don't need.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm a very nationalistic person.
No, no,
Believe it
no,
or
no,
not.
no, no.
So the thing is, I'm not like, oh, nationalistic about Britain. I'm not nationalistic even about Palestine. So for me, it's your friends, it's your family, it's your surroundings. It's not necessarily the label of this or that. So it's how and frankly, honestly, the racism that exists, is just not, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in France,
It's
whether
everywhere.
it's everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's their problem. Whoever's racist about
Mm.
you're not from here. I mean, it's just ridiculous. We can talk about who came from where over the last 100 years. So to me, all of that is
Never
so
ending.
ridiculous and
Yeah,
pathetic.
I totally
It's
agree.
just, here I am. I was born here, raised here. I do that. My blood is this. That's it. Done. We're done. Let's get
Yeah.
over it, everyone. And look at me as a human being and for the fabric of who I am. And if you can't look at me that way, then that's that's your
That's it.
problem. That's
Yeah,
not my problem. And I'm not going to let it be my problem, is the point. So I think it's more of a mental state that I have chosen to have in my life. You don't get to define my mental state. I'm going to define my mental state.
I totally agree with you. Because this is what happened to me basically. So when I changed my mentality, then I accepted my two sides, if I can
Yes,
say
your
it like this.
reality of
Yeah, my reality.
who you are. And
Again, I don't
yeah.
have to choose. I can
Mm.
have both or even three, like identities. Identities, like origins. I don't know how.
Hello, whatever. No.
That's called schizophrenia. That's completely different.
Completely different to what we're talking about. Okay.
But I was able to understand myself, and I
Yes.
know the struggle for many people was not. I mean, is different from one person to another, but I'm happy that I was able at some point of my life, like early 20s, I was able. Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't have to choose. I'm this. You like it, perfect. You don't, perfect. I don't care.
Yeah.
As
I
easy
don't
as
care
that.
anymore. I'm not
Yeah.
going to let it bother me.
Yeah, exactly. Why? Yeah. Okay, so Alfred Hitchcock famously said, "I don't believe in improvisation on the set. I can visualize an entire picture on paper from the beginning. It's better to improvise on your office before the film starts." Can you relate to that process? How much of your work is improvised? Sorry, or do you also feel the need to have anything ready?
Oh, I can relate to that majorly. I will say though that, and I'll kind of go into it a bit, but on the present, I was so organized. Me personally, I'm talking about. I'm not saying the whole set and everything was so. I'm just saying me. I tried to be as organized as I could be. I'm not saying I was, because there was madness all around and all that, but I tried to be as organized as possible. And I do have a slight regret that I didn't leave room for myself to improvise much on that particular film. Now, I know why. It was that we were so tight on time. We were so tight with so many things and issues and whatever. And at the same time, it was the first film I'd ever directed. So I was really sticking to my plan, and it had to be that way for me as a first film. But I do wonder, there was that shot I really should have taken. Like, for example, I don't know if you remember, but he's in the cage and
Yeah.
there's the drilling.
Yeah.
Okay, so the sound engineering, there's drilling.
Spoiler alert.
Well, no. And the drilling was because there was actually drilling going on a hilltop nearby in an illegal Israeli settlement. And it was very frustrating to shoot the film with that background noise, but unfortunately we had to. And so what I decided to do in the sound engineering was, let's just use that drilling as part of the sound engineering for that scene, okay? And we built on it and we layered it. But why didn't I turn the camera at one point and actually shoot that settlement, for example?
Yeah.
Didn't even cross my mind when I was on the ground. I was under such pressure. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So now that moving forward, I know you have to leave some room for improvisation. You do. And even with the actors, and again, I didn't need to do it for this film.
Yeah.
But I know as I move forward, there has to be some breathing room for that, because things can happen in the moment that warrant that spontaneity. Okay? And you shouldn't lose that. On the contrary, those can be some beautiful moments. In Oceans of Injustice, for example, there's the kufiyya scarf under the water that we shot. That was me purely improvising at the time with the director himself. And I sort of said, look, how about we drop this scarf in the water and film it going down the water? I think that's beautiful imagery. And we did it, and actually beautiful in the film. So you must improvise a little bit, sure. But I'm very Alfred Hitchcock. As far as I'm concerned, I love going into the dreaming room. I constantly think, and moving forward, I'm going to be, working on my feature, and I've already
looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm writing notes and anything that comes to my mind when I'm visualizing, and I want to be organized. I think that in many ways, the worst thing you can do is arrive on set and not be as organized as possible. There's so many moving parts. Your set should be as organized as possible, your cast, your crew, everyone, and you yourself as a director really should, at least me, I believe, I want to know what it is I want, and that is the way I'm going to be able to achieve that. Not if on the spot I'm trying to figure out what it is I want. I don't think that's fair to everyone around you either. You may be in the privileged position to be completely indifferent and spontaneous if you're not on, if you're on some big budget and you're whatever, maybe. I can't speak to that. So what I know is the more organized, the more, like, he said, improvise in your office, figure it out, have all the exciting ideas, there, figure out how you're going to carry those things out as early as you can, as clearly as you can, and then on the ground, leave a little room, a little breathing room. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Because, in my opinion as well, you have to be very, very well organized. Otherwise, especially where you have a very tight budget, you can't decide to spread that little money everywhere. You wear many different hats in the craft of filmmaking. Which one do you lean towards the most?
I think now, directing.
Okay. But do you think, because, for instance, Alfonso Cuarón likes to write and direct. For him, you can't be director if you're not a writer.
If you didn't write what it is you're directing. I don't know if I agree with that. Let's put it the other way around.
Okay.
I would like to only write for things that I am directing. Okay? So I'm not someone who'd say, I'll just write and I'm not going to direct this now, moving forward. Prior, I had those pieces, right? But now that I've, so
meaning whatever you write, you have to direct.
I would like to be the one to direct,
but
yes.
If it's someone else that is as talented as you, who would you like to take over your script? What do you do then?
No. So what you're trying to say is, I have a great script that I wrote, and some incredible director comes along. Am I going to give up my script for them? No, that's my point. You see? So it's the other way around. So what I write, I would like to direct.
Okay.
And I'm only really going to write something that I'm really passionate about, or that I'm inspired by. It is my story.
But
right?
would you do the?
But I would direct.
Yeah, exactly.
Something someone else has written, as long as, of course, what they've written resonates with me and is something exciting and powerful, or I co-write it, or So yeah, it's that way round. So in terms of now, I wear those hats in some ways because I have to, because again, it's independent cinema, and I also feel that given my past experiences in investment banking, in running a business, there are certain skills and skill sets and abilities that I have gained and know, and even my understanding of numbers and budgets, and I'm not intimidated by that. So it seems that I don't want to say a jack of all trades, master of none, but that my mind is kind of balanced in that sense of like the numbers side as well as the creative side and so forth. So I feel like I have something to add, and I can produce and even executive produce and write and do I think I'm incredible at any of them? No, but it's like what I'm leaning towards is I'd like to direct.
Yep.
And I would direct even something I haven't written.
But
but I'm not interested to write for someone else to direct.
I see. And understood.
And if I could wave a wand and have an incredible producer just take over all of my work and raise all the money as well, then that's the part that I don't really need to be doing, but I do.
You're doing so many things at the same time. I see what you mean. It's very hard to focus on one thing without thinking about the other thing at the same time. So you need someone
to do it as best as I can, and then and I also think it's in stages though as well a little bit. And so I'll be in a stage where I'm like producing and executive producing in my mind and doing all this.
Mm-hmm.
The writing phase has already happened, let's say, and now I'm like, okay, now that's settled. Go into the dreaming room now a lot more. Be the director you need to be. Focus on that. Work on that, and and then you head to your prep and your shoot, and then after that you kind of put various hats on again, and so it's
would you ever be interested in writing a sci-fi movie?
Writing a sci-fi movie. I'm interested in everything, right?
Okay.
Like I love stories, like I love but it's what is the idea, so it's like, tell me the idea, tell me the log line, tell me what it is about, and then I'll know, like, this is something I'd like to write potentially, because now I have felt inspired by it, and I feel like motivated by it, or whatever it is. Other way around, would Farah actually direct a sci-fi movie?
Yes.
If it's a good story and a good script, yes, I would. You see what I mean? So it's like, am I sitting there going, I''d like to write a sci-fi movie? No, I'm not sitting here going, I'd really like to write a sci-fi movie.
Yeah, because my next question would be, what film genre you like? Because if the film genre you like is not included in sci-fi, then you don't have sci-fi included in
No,
this.
I love, honestly, again, I just like good films. You know what I mean? So there are some good sci-fi movies, there are some good action movies, there are some good comedies, there's some good dramas. I tend, me personally, towards the sort of drama thriller, drama suspense, but honestly, I can appreciate all different kinds of films as long as the story, the script is compelling. So, and I watch everything, various things.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but could the present be
have been a sci-fi?
No.
And then the aliens remove him with the fridge. And
Spoiler alert. Could the present be a comedy?
Not the present. For me, everything can be a comedy.
There's the scene. I don't want to.
No. Okay. Let me put it this way.
Sorry.
Everything can be comedy, and I have a very dark sense of humor, by the way, as well. And the funny thing is, people who know me know how much I love to laugh, and I'm a funny person, actually.
I can vouch for
right? And yet, when it's come to whatever I've written and it's not funny. Now, that said, I have another potential feature film that I've written the story from, and I've begun the script, and it is a drama comedy. Okay, and it is Palestine and and Palestine, UK, but it really is what you're inspired by, right? So ultimately, anything can become a comedy. Now, a situation like The Present would be a dark comedy if it was going to be a comedy, right? Now,
totally agree.
The funny thing was that in the shoot, there's a couple of moments, and even in scenes where the humor, we had some humor, and we kept certain cute light moments that made sense. But actually, in edit, I pulled out one or two moments that were funny and cute, but they were out of genre. And I thought, now we are moving into a bit of comedy, and this film, we can't,
It would affect. I see what you mean.
So I took them out, basically.
Because let me rephrase my question. I think there is a potential comedian screenwriter. And you. I mean,
there is, by the way.
That's what I see. It's just when I see.
I just don't know.
Just for the present. Yeah, I see that screenwriter on you. But I can't say the scene. I can't say which one. But you understood me which scene I'm talking about in the present. That might be, that could lean toward comedy.
I think there's a couple of places in the present that could.
There is.
I mean, like I co-wrote the script with Hind Shafani, who's a Palestinian filmmaker, and you know we definitely wanted to lend moments that were light. And I know that in my storytelling and in my latest feature film script, you know, I think it's really important to have up and down, if you like. You can't just have a continuous emotion or type of emotion running through a film.
This is how we build sympathy. You can't build it otherwise.
Yes, true. But also just naturally in storytelling. Otherwise it becomes almost monotonous or too heavy or too light or too, you know,
contrast in any way.
Yeah, because you're taking people on an emotional journey, right? And it should.
Well, too many affinity shots or you need contrast between shots or between moments.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's boring. As
yes,
you said.
And that's why these moments with him and his daughter, or the salesman, or there's these cute light moments. But like I said, we had a bit more, and it just now I gotta take this out.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. So I totally see what you mean. What film genre inspires you?
Well, I think it's still, we were saying I'm drawn to the sort of drama, thriller, drama, suspense. That's where inspires me with my work. Do you see what I mean? Like that's because, and I think that's because that's the kind of films I'm making at the moment. But I love, honestly.
As long as it's a good movie for you.
As long as it's a good movie.
It's great.
And, for me, what is a good movie is I have to feel. Mm-hmm. Various emotions, of course. I have to feel, and I also want to be engaged. Like it can't. I'm not telling you I judge a film the moment I kind of reach for my phone, or I'm distracted and happy to be distracted, because that can still happen in a good film sometimes. And that just means to me that the editing wasn't perfect, meaning we could have tightened this film a little bit more. So it doesn't suddenly mean that that's not a good film, but I tend to find that the films I watch where I was constantly engaged and I didn't think of anything else, and I didn't need to reach and check if my phone or answer a message, or that's a film that has engaged me completely.
I see what you mean.
And I have felt emotions. Then this is a great film.
I totally agree, but I think it differs from one person to another, right? For instance, I don't know if you watched No Country for an Old Man by the Coen brothers. I love the ending. For me, it's one of the best ending in the film.
I haven't watched it, so I can't tell you.
No, don't go and watch it.
I will. It's on my list. It's on my list. My list is so huge.
I can imagine. Yeah. But for other people, they think it's crap. I mean, for them, the ending is. No, it's wrong.
Sure, but it's a matter of opinion. So that's what a good film to you is, and that's what a bad film is to them. That's we're not all going to agree on what a good film is. Listen, I've watched some films, I'm going to say it, that have won major awards, and I'm thinking, that didn't do it for me.
No, I agree.
And then I've watched some films that didn't win major awards, and I thought, this is a really good film, and this did not get the attention and the And look, a lot of it is also timing, marketing.
No, I agree.
Did you manage to get a great actor in it? So yes, their performance was phenomenal, for example. The film itself wasn't, or I'm not someone who just goes with the flow. Everyone says it's a great film. Oh, this is a great film. It's my opinion, and vice versa. And
it's like when I watch a movie, I watched movies like, I don't know, The Godfather, for instance, 10, 15 years ago. And now I'm older, more experienced, hope so. So you see things differently. Even sometimes the movies that you maybe enjoyed watching 10, 15 years ago, you see them differently now. So even yourself, you're a different person.
Yes, of course. Yes, exactly. Who you are, you've grown, you've changed. But also, again, we know because of time and thing. And the funny part I have is actually watching films from a long time ago that I clearly did not understand back then. And actually appreciate more now. in some ways. So it's both ways. There's some films you're like, and I thought that was a good movie. Why? And then at the same time, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that that's what this film was really about because I was just so naive, or I didn't whatever it is. So it's,
For me it's worse because in France there is dubbing. So back then my English was even worse than now. So so when I rewatch the movie in the, let's say, in English, wow, I have a completely different perspective sometimes.
yeah.
Why did, as you said, why I did like that movie? But then, and then, so yeah, it's even worse for me. How do you plan your movies?
From a directing point of view, even from the moment I have like that first draft, anything that comes into my mind visually that is I'm inspired, like it's fitting to what I feel like that scene could be like, or so forth. Even if it's a shot angle, or a piece of music, or whatever it is, I make sure I note it down, because I know 1 year from now, when I'm finally shooting this, and by the way, with filmmaking, it could be 3 years from now, or whenever it, you know what I mean. I can't suddenly be remembering and feeling all those things and thoughts and inspirations that have accumulated over 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So I make it a point to note things down. Half of those notes are going to be meaningless to me later. Ultimately I might have changed my mind on something by the time it comes to actually really prepping for the film. It doesn't matter, because there's a lot of gems in those notes later, and you go, yeah, I remember why I wanted that way, this shot or that shot, or specific background, or whatever it is. So I make notes all the time. And if you look at my phone, for example, you will see literally you can scroll under my under my film. I've got so many notes, and it could be technical, it could be acting wise, it could be emotional, it could be music, it could be edit. It literally could be, and when I'm,
or certain way of,
yes, and when I'm even watching films, and I see something that, like, I'm like, oh yeah, this is beautifully done, and I might take a shot, remember it, and I file that, because that's inspiration, and
references,
so
building
references, of course, yeah, and you have to be constantly building references, not at the 11th hour.
Oh yeah, no.
Not at the 11th hour. Now, as a producer, this is a different thing, and as executive producing, so the fundraising side of things is just a different beast. Yeah. I hate the process, but I do the process. I'm part of the process, which ultimately is, you've got to be
super difficult. I mean,
yeah, but I think it's really, I think it's really important as a producers, you have to know what it is that you're trying to make. You have to have your presentations, and you can't just hope that I've got an idea and hope someone's going to go, here you go, here's the money. You've got to bring them in to.
So do you treat it like a project, actually?
Yeah. Yes. Ultimately you're selling.
Of course. Yeah, marketing.
Now, yeah, and my investment background has helped me with that, right? So I bring those things into play, but you've got to cover all of that as well. And that, of course, involves a lot of communication, right? Yep. And, that kind of side of things. And then the producing side of things is, I guess for me, because I'm quite strategic in my thinking, I think it's really important to be quite strategic, always looking quite far ahead, the goals and the milestones, again. And because I wear the directing and the writing hat as well, I'm a producer who empathizes with myself. Do you get my meaning? It's like whereas maybe pure producers would not necessarily have the same mindset as I do as a producer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I exactly see what you mean.
And also like the budget element, for example. Yeah. Because I'm producing and directing, for example, I appreciate and respect what it means, what a budget means, and where I am with that. I'm not just like, get me a crane, whatever, it's like, we can't afford that.
Of course, yeah. You need 4 drones.
Yeah, or like fire scenes we were discussing earlier.
Yeah. That could be quite expensive. If you want to burn a forest, well, Greenpeace won't be.
I'm gonna call you for your VFX.
Yeah, you're more than welcome anytime. Is the creative industry more unpredictable than banking? Have you found ways to create familiar, almost mathematical patterns Or do you prefer the fact that the creative industry is different that way?
So it's not that I prefer it, but no, I think no, I think filmmaking is far less predictable and consistent, and the troubleshooting that you need in making film, and the unknowns are far more than in banking, and the risk taking is a different kind of risk taking. Of course, in banking, maybe it's financial risk taking, but I mean, it's, and on the one hand, I like stability. I like, knowing. I like some of the predictability of things. Okay, because I in making a film, it's pretty terrifying, if you don't finish and you've run out of money, for example. It's like, what or you scheduled everything and you're literally chasing the light. I mean, but of course the thrill and the adrenaline of it is also super exciting. But then again, when I was in investment banking, there was thrill and adrenaline, if you like.
Yeah.
So what I'm drawn to is this creative element, the creative side of things, not the side of like, oh my God, this is making me stressed, or no, I don't like that part of it so much. I didn't like that part of it so much in running a business or being in investment banking. I like the creation side of things. And that's what you don't get in investment banking, or so for me, they're both pretty crazy, but I'd say filmmaking is far more unpredictable, and but it's not that I'm embracing that and going, yeah, that's why I'm drawn to this. That's not what I'm drawn to. I'm drawn to the creative side of it. And I also seen and can see directors who, and I think that's why I need to be as organized as I can. So bring all the skill sets and experiences of my previous work into my filmmaking
I think
work.
for you it's the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
So basically you have your, let's say, because of your career in investment banking and your creativity side, you have like a good balance between the two.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of your strong points as a director and producer, because you can manage both as it should, and you have a good combination.
Yeah.
So the result of these two
is what we got, right? Exactly. And that's exactly it. And so it's like I can use this yin, let's say, to minimize the unpredictability and the difficulties and the disorganization, if you like, or that often is on, let's say, film sets and making films or whatever. I can minimize it. I can't eliminate it.
Of course you can.
But I can use that to minimize it. And I can also use my mindset and my strategic kind of, whatever it is, and my communication skills or whatever it is, to progress the film. Knowing that I also am directing the film in a creative way. You know what I mean? So it's working for me in that sense. Yeah. I don't know what point I'll kind of maybe
no, I totally
give up one side, or but
yeah, I mean sometimes one part take over a little bit to the other because of the circumstances, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Sometimes the production side will take a little bit over than the creative side, because otherwise we can't finish. So we have to choose. Either we finish the movie,
exactly,
or we don't do
exactly.
It. So at some point you say, I prefer maybe to have a 70% project done rather than nothing. So it depends on depend of the people.
But I think for me, it's not about like how many things can I write and then they just sit on the table, or how many, am I, no, what I don't think any filmmaker wants that, but I'm just saying that you become a serial writer, or you want to direct, but you never actually finish anything. Or
we value the quality, not the quantity. It's not about writing hundreds of scripts. It doesn't matter. I prefer. It's like for us in VFX actually. So when new people are coming in to the industry, sometimes they have very long stories. This is sometimes. For actors, it's fine, but for VFX artists, we don't need that. So sometimes you have a junior artist coming out from school, and he have like a 4-minute or 5-minute story. So that's super long. Big companies in London or everywhere in the world, they will never watch a 5-minute story, because they receive sometimes like roughly 500 applications a day, so we won't have the time to do this.
Wow.
So basically, the shorter it is, the better, because we straight away in 10 seconds, 15 seconds, we can see what's going on, and it's more than enough for us to say, okay, you are good enough to jump in and.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's because the quality is more important than the quantity.
Yes.
We can do whatever, I mean, 200-minute show reel if you want, but it doesn't matter. When we see the first 30 seconds, we can know, okay,
Right.
this person have the skill, know where to place the light, for instance, if it's a lighter, know how to do fire if it's a FX. So yeah, we always the primary criteria for recruitment is the quality.
Yes.
I think it's the same thing for writing. So for writing, it doesn't matter how many scripts you wrote.
Yes, but I also though don't, there's a lot of times when I see kind of, let's call it the artists in the industry, where they are too involved in just that creative side of things that nothing gets finished, nothing gets done. So they are serial writers and they are this project, that project, but nothing actually, materializes. And that's also a danger. So it is take your time and, focus on something, and it is quality over quantity. But it's also a problem when you see people, I don't want to say procrastinating, that's not the word, but they're sort of so into that dreaming room that they don't know how to come out of it almost.
The bubble.
And and then, okay, well.
Yeah, I think you have a great balance between the two. I think you kept the creativity from where we were a child, and that sticked with you all those years. And then through your career, you learned new things, new way of doing things, and this helped you to produce and even write. And I'm sure you had amazing writing skills even before being a writer or director. Otherwise, it's impossible.
No, and I've just written my my latest script, which is 110 pages long, and it's and I did English literature A level, and it's not like but again, it's like an imposter syndrome thing. I started off not quite knowing, okay, can I write dialogue? Can I write script? And I'm learning, of course. And even that creative side of me, I'm still nourishing it, nurturing it, and giving it permission to kind of evolve. And you know what I mean? I hope that it is going to grow, and like watering it, and so yeah.
As an Armenian filmmaker, Belishian said, "I'm convinced that cinema can convey certain things that no language in the world can translate. For me, it goes back to the Tower of Babel, to before the division into different languages. The power of shorts and visual work, like Nabulsi's, is the universal message they convey and the humanity that bring into a people whose humanity and mere existence is constantly questioned and erased, using a seemingly normal thing such as an errand with your daughter for a gift to show how much colonialism stripped away from you your time, your life. Even language barriers can't stop you from understanding what that pain must be like. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to understand your working process better and for your time. Thank you very much, Farah. I really appreciate this. I had a really nice time. Hope you had the same.
I did. Thank you. Really, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Good luck for your next feature film, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.